Hi, this is John Huntington. This is an informal video about configuring this Show Technologies digital I/O box. This video is made to support a post on my website that has all the information we're going to talk about here and some QLab files you can download that I'm going to demonstrate. First, I'll just go a little bit over the setup. I go through all this in the post, but this box here, I've set to this IP address. It has this, I have a button wired to it here. It's lit up, and I have 4 output lights on it. I'm just running it on a little 12-volt supply I had laying around. I just bought a tail from this to plug it in, so I didn't need to get another power supply. That thing's networked through this cable over to a switch that's off camera, and it goes to this little Mac Mini here that I'm going to run QLab and also Wireshark on. All right, so the first thing we're going to look at here is the ShowIO-configuration file. This you can download from my website, controlgeek.net. I'll put the link in the comments. I've already configured out this box here with this IP address, and then we're going to configure it with this file. But good practice, of course, is always to test things. So first thing I'm going to do is ping it. This is just, we're always going to do this. I can't type and hold the phone at the same time, so I'm going to pause here for a second, type the ping command in. All right, here's that ping command typed in. Just going to hit enter now, and you can see the response here. So that tells us that we are communicating correctly from this Mac Mini over here to the Show Technologies box off a little switch that's off camera. I'm going to hit Control-C to stop this pinging. And then we'll go back in over here. So again, be careful with these because as we go through, the first thing we're going to do down here that's on this one here, Q6, that's going to actually wipe out the box. So this is meant, this configuration is meant for you have a box off the shelf, or maybe it has some configuration. But we want to start with a known starting point to make sure we know what we're doing here. I'm going to, Wireshark is running in the background here, still going there. Oh, there's the ping command that we just saw. I'm going to go ahead and just clear that out, start over again so we don't have to see that. But that, again, shows you that it was working properly. Always good to test things as you go forward. So I'm going to send up this message here, reset. I just sent it. You can see it went out. There's no response from the box, but it did actually reset. I'm going to just see if it worked properly. Like this isn't working anymore because it was firing stuff before when I had it configured. So I just proved that it's been wiped out. Next thing we're going to do in here is I'm just going to issue this command that's called info-get. I'm going to send that. Let's bring this Wireshark up to the front again here. Here you can see, back up one, you can see that it went out, right? Info to get. And then the next one was the response here. So you can see all this stuff. It's the protocol, not the easiest thing to read, but you get the idea. There's a serial number, device ID, the firmware version, and all that kind of stuff. Just again, proving that we're speaking to the box. I'm going to fire the next command here. We have a port misconfiguration. I'll talk about that in a minute. That's why we're getting that ICMP message there. There's the LAN thing, and then you can see it's in a bunch of stuff about the IP address, but you can see it in there. It's in there if you can look more carefully. But again, just easy thing to show that that it's functioning. Okay, so now the next commands here just test the outputs. You can see I have little LED indicator lights wired up through the power supply over here to that. So if this is working properly, I'm going to do this one. This should turn, I'm going to back up a little bit there, it should turn the first light on, which it does. So that is output number 1, get it in focus. You can see output number 1 is on there. I have that wired up as LED. The next command turns it off. You can see that did that, which I had to back over, you can see it. There's the next one turns it on, the next one turns it off, on, off, on, off. So that's good. That means that all our outputs are working. If you're not using the inputs on these boxes, that's all you need to do because it's pretty simple. In fact, you could do this right out of the box without doing anything. Those commands are just built in on the box and those will work fine. All right, so let's move on to the input now. I went through all the details of this on the post, which you should read. But basically here in Q20, we're going to tell this box here, the Show Technologies ShowIO box, to send messages to this Mac Mini which is on that IP address. That's where we're going to send it from on port 53535. That's the plain text OSC port of QLab, which we're going to look at in a little while here. So again, I still got Wireshark running in the background here. Let's just clear it out. Stop and restart to clear this thing out. And we'll go ahead and issue this command here. It says Q20. Let's send that. It went out. Again, no response, but you can see it told it to subscribe in the correct port. Then the next thing in here, on this one, we're just going to send a get message out, OSC get message out to the ShowIO box. And again, this port coming in is getting destination unreachable. That's because there's nothing on this machine that's listening to port 9999. We could set that up if we wanted to, but that's not really an error. It's just, I mean, it's showing as an error, but it's not really a problem. So anyway, here's the response. It shows us here. Let's take a look at this thing. It's saying UDC receive port 8888, so that's where it's coming in. Response port 9999. Subscribers 192.168.10.88. A little hard to read here. That's just where I have this machine set up here on port 53535. So that's what came back from the box when we sent this OSC question command in. So these next four, these will actually configure the four inputs on the box to each one send a queue out to QLab. I talk all about that in the post, so you should read that there. I'm just going to issue these out. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just giving it a second. I don't think I really need it. You can see they went out, no response or anything. Now this one, you have to power cycle the unit. I spent a bunch of time with this. I had to email the guys at Show Technologies to figure this one out, because a lot of the other changes you saw are implemented immediately. These ones are not. So I'm just going to pull my little power cord here, turn it off for a second, and give it a second just to sit, and turn it back on, and give it a second to reset here. So I just restarted it. I'm going to just send this OSC get command again just to make sure the box is woken up and all that stuff. Everything's good. I sent it. And down here in the bottom, same thing with our port error. But yeah, our subscribers are still there. Everything's good. So that's all the configuration I need to do this box. I talk a lot more about this in the post. What I'm going to do now is switch to a different QLab workspace in order to show you how these inputs work here. So let's go ahead and set up for that. All right, so we're looking now at a different QLab workspace called ShowIO-Input Actions. That one you can also download from my website. This is kind of a specialized list here. What we're going to do is test out these inputs on this thing. So what I did is I wrote this workspace, and then I made these queues as DI1, DI2, DI3, DI4. There's a bunch of other stuff we'll go over in a second. Those correspond to the DI1, 2, 3, 4 inputs from here. I have one button wired up, the one we can test the others with the other thing. And what I have it set to do here is the message we just saw programmed in gets fired from this box over here to port 53535. I go over this in the configuration. Let's just take a look over here at workspace settings, network, and you can see on here in OSC access, we're listening on 53535. I turned off the passcode for this one. You should leave it if you need the security feature. And then I have this network output back to the box. So if we go through this, it's going to happen pretty quickly, but when the input comes in, I have these set to auto continue. You can see over there. And then it's going to display a graphic on the screen. And then what it's actually going to do is fire a message back to the box down here to the output to turn on output 1. Then it waits half a second. It turns off output 1. And then it clears the graphic off the screen. So it's the same thing for each of the four inputs there, which are sending OSC commands. And again, all this is explained much more in the post. All right, I had to stop for a second just to adjust the lighting in here because my little testing was flashing on the screen so fast the phone couldn't expose for it. So I brightened up the room a little bit. Also having some thunder outside right now, which you might hear in the video. I'm going to go out and chase that later. Anyway, so I have a button here. When I press this, let's look down here first, right? I pressed input button number 1 and output number 1 flashed on. Also on the screen, you can say it says D1 input received. I have that set to just time out after half a second. It's a little quick. Now down here, I'm going to press input button number 2. You can see I got 2 received and the white going on down here. And here's number 3. There's 3 received, light going on down here. And then number 4 received and 4 received down here. I talk about this on the website, but I just wanted to go into this a little bit more. You can certainly use this as a, a test file for your input box, but the idea here is that this, for the future, could be more of a structure to do other things. So on this one, that's actually just a memo queue. Come on, it'll expose on it. There we go. That's just a memo queue that doesn't actually do anything. And then for anything you want it to do, you have to auto continue down on some other actions. So what I would do is keep this workspace, and I made these names kind of unusual on purpose so they wouldn't conflict with anything else you're doing. Use a workspace like this, and then down here, instead of running stuff locally in this workspace, I would probably just fire out queues in another workspace. So it's easy to do that. And I would just fire, Q17 and list number 4, whatever you're doing, and then just leave this as your input structure. That way it's very modular if you need to change anything for the future. So again, pretty powerful little box. Read up on my website to get all the rest of the configuration details here. This was really just to demonstrate that.